Hey guys, it's Alex, and I wanted to bring you a little bit of an update on this 3 valve that I've had for a couple of days. The last video you saw me try to dial in the low RPM hesitation, for lack of a better word. Apparently I say that a lot. Sorry. So, after talking to Lund Racing and talking to Senior, Junior, and everybody, I started thinking, okay, what's going on with this car? Because tune-wise, it wasn't significantly helping. Throwing fuel at it didn't necessarily fix it. Some cam changes did help, but at the end of the day, the stumble was still there, albeit a lot lower. It's still there. So we started doing some thinking, and I remember that the customer said, when it was tuned before on MS-109 and it didn't have a return stop fuel system, it was fine. It drove fine. So I went, okay, what changed on this car since then and now? Well, the return stop fuel system that was installed right there, 1050X injectors from Injector Dynamics. What else? An E85. That's it. So I said, okay, that's what changed. Well, let's trace it back. So I started thinking, fuel systems. Now, a lot of people that get return stop fuel systems, they always ask the same questions, whether it's a budget style system or whatever. They say, do you want it boost referenced or not? And I 100% of the time want it boost reference. What does that mean? Okay, this is the fuel pressure regulator. This is the boost reference line. Notice that it's off. I'm going to explain why in a second. But Coyote Mustangs and other things like that, I want that line hooked to a boost / vacuum source. Where's the best boost / vacuum source? So if you had a Coyote, it'd probably be somewhere up here where there's a bunch of T's and things happening in the manifold, or somewhere where you know the car's getting boost, whether you have a manifold that has an inlet coming in for boost and you can have multiple outlets. You can go ahead and do that. UPR sells a real nice vacuum tree, for lack of a better word. So if you wonder where to get a good boost reference, the vacuum tree from a known boost source is the same, but you are going to have to determine where the best boost source is. Now, the red race blow-off valve on this car has its own dedicated boost line. So when it goes under boost, the red race blow-off valve shuts. So I started thinking, where's this thing getting its boost reference? So here's the line. I have it capped off with a bolt, but here's the line, and let's chase it. Let's chase the line, see where it ends up. So the line ended up here, teed in to the brake booster and this guy, which is not on Coyote. This is the fuel rail pressure sensor. This basically tells us how much pressure is in the fuel rail, and the computer dictates fueling and injector pulse width, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, based on many factors. So on GT500s, I can tell you're running out of fuel, not by the short trims, but by your fuel rail pressure sensor output. If pressure starts to drop, let's say if it starts at 47 and it drops to 28, 27, I'm like, dude, you're out of fuel system. So this guy basically will modulate injector pulse width based on the needs, for lack of a better word. Sorry, there's that word again. So I noticed that it was teed in here, and I went, wait a minute. That means there's a momentary vacuum, because this is a Paxton supercharged car. So it's not like a TVS where it makes boost like right off the rip. This is probably not going to be the best setup when it comes to boost reference. Now I understand he has boost coming out of the manifold in the back, but it is teed into the fuel rail pressure sensor. So I started thinking, okay, well maybe there's Harvey. Let's see Harvey in his flip-flops. There he is.
Hey, what up?
So basically I started thinking, okay, so maybe this guy's the culprit. The fact that it's teed into the fuel rail pressure sensor might kind of be throwing things off. So what I'm going to do is basically what I showed you earlier is cap it. I'm going to cap it, and I'll show you what happens when you cap it and when you don't. Actually, I'm just gonna do it live. Screw it, because I have 10 minutes to kill. Oh, there's Harvey's truck. So when you're it's fucking 3 valves, they hate me. So let me stop this thing. Oh, this thing does not have an e-brake. So a lot of people ask us, how do you want us to set up the boost pressure or the fuel rail pressure? How do you want us to set it up? Well, I say this, set it to 55 psi static. What does that mean? Meaning without the boost reference line hooked up, I wanted the 55 psi in a Coyote. But when you install the boost reference line, that should drop to about 42 or so. So you'll see. You see how it dropped? Let's do it again. Okay? So you set it without the line installed, then you put in the line, and it brings it down. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna run it without the line, and I'm gonna see if it makes a big difference in that stumble, because then that'll tell me that the boost slash vacuum source that is being used is not proper. So let's cap the line, take it for a quick drive around the block without getting into heavy boost, see if it makes a huge difference. Okay, let's drive it now with the boost reference line removed and see if it's vastly improved, meaning there isn't any kind of momentary delay or anything like that. And we'll know once we take off. Wow, look at that. Fuck me. So, looks like it needs its own dedicated boost line, but let's drive it a little bit to make sure. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, so apparently maybe under no boost, high vacuum situations, and you're trying to leave a light and you lug it a little bit, something happens where the fuel pressure regulator sees the opposite of boost, obviously vacuum, or it has to do with the fuel rail pressure sensor being teed into the same line. Now, some of you might have luck with that configuration, but all I did, same tune, I removed the boost reference line, and it seems to be, yeah, like the hesitation pretty much gone. You can actually launch it like a normal person. It doesn't do that bucking, taking off anymore. Interesting, very interesting. I wish I knew exactly what's happening, but it's sometimes 9 times out of 10 it's mechanical, and then a lot of people get mad at their tuner because they think that we don't want to fix the problem with the tune, but in actuality, if the tune is configured properly, we know it has to be another variable, and it has to be something to do with how the fuel system is configured, especially when it comes to something that's boost reference. Do I always want a boost reference on an aftermarket fuel system? Absolutely. Does it have to have its own dedicated line? Absolutely. In my opinion, I think it's best to have a dedicated line in your fuel system so that nothing else is interfering. When we teed into the fuel rail pressure sensor line, things got a little hokey. So drive it a little more and see if that actually fixed the problem. I'm gonna take off a bunch of time just to make sure, you know, it's legit. Yeah, a lot better, like vastly improved. That's a bit of a rev hang. Yeah, a lot better. One more time just to make sure. I'll launch a little more aggressively. Yeah, dude. That little hesitation's gone. It's breaking up top, and I think it has to do with a couple of things. Looking at AFR, it seems to be pretty legit. AFR seems to be in the low 11. I think it has something to do with potentially a two-step that he installed. A lot of you guys have real good ears, and a lot of you guys heard a slight misfire at wide open throttle in the last video. And I thought, well, this thing was clean during the wide open throttle pulls on the dyno. What changed? Well, he installed an MSD two-step. Now, a lot of you guys that have seen the woes of the MSD two-step, you know that a lot of them are prone to misfire codes and issues. So that might be a variable also on top of everything else. Okay, so after kind of going through everything a whole bunch of times and double checking and triple checking everything. The car is running really well. The misfire you hear at wide open throttle, Christian actually told me that he might think it's the spark plugs. It has a not so great set of spark plugs in there, and since the MSD two-step was installed recently, they're going to go ahead and pull plugs and make sure that the spark plugs, the gap hasn't widened or anything like that, to make sure everything's legit. But it's a process of elimination, guys. 9 times out of 10, it's not the tune. Now, I don't say that as a tuner just to say, hey, I'm basically not taking responsibility for anything. It's because we check and double check and triple check. And if 50 other customers have never had an issue and all of a sudden you have an issue with the exact same tune, we start pointing to mechanical things. So this is a good video to showcase a couple of things. How do we like a fuel system set up, boost references, MSD two steps, and diagnosing something via the tune, then realizing it's mechanical. It's a good video to show you guys what to do, process of elimination, and maybe it'll help you in your project if you have any issues and you're working with a remote tuner like Lund Racing. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk to you later.